Und damit willkommen zu einem kleinen Spaßprojekt, The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Ich habe das Spiel noch nicht gestartet, das werde ich jetzt direkt mal tun. Ja, das Spiel ist gerade rausgekommen und mit gerade meine ich vor 6 Tagen. Hat sich also fast mit dem Nintendo Switch Sports Release überschnitten. Und dann wollen wir uns dieses etwas seltsame Spiel mal anschauen. Ich habe es noch nicht gespielt. Ich kenne die Originale The Stanley Parable. Von daher, so ein bisschen Grundwissen habe ich, aber inwieweit jetzt Ultra Deluxe da was verändert, keine Ahnung. Und es gibt deutsche Untertitel. Bräuchte ich persönlich nicht unbedingt, aber weil es für YouTube ist, werde ich die natürlich aktivieren. So. Hast du The Stanley Parable schon mal gespielt? Gespielt noch nicht, ich kenne es aber, ich will aber trotzdem nein. Und der Regler, dass der Computer gerade noch sichtbar ist. Ich werde jetzt mal kurz auf den OBS-Screen gehen. Ich sehe ihn zwar auch so noch, aber ich weiß, dass das für YouTube zu dunkel ist. Ich bleibe mal bei der Standardeinstellung in der Mitte. Und aktuell haben wir... Wieso muss ich die Uhrzeit einstellen? Das geht mit PM, ne? Ja. Dann haben wir es gerade 8:27 Uhr. 28 PM. Okay, wofür auch immer man das braucht. Barrierefreiheit brauchen wir aber nicht. Geht ja schon mal gut los hier. Jo. Und damit dann willkommen zu Let's Play für Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Ich habe das Spiel noch nicht gespielt, ich kenne aber die Originale The Stanley Parable und deswegen stürzen wir uns gleich mal rein. The end is never the end, is never the end, is loading. Ein Klassiker. Es gibt deutsche Untertitel, das heißt, der Sprecher ist zwar Englisch, aber sollte passen.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-lifting, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Soweit kenne
And
ich's.
then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ah, und jetzt kann ich mich auch bewegen. So, mal gucken, wie sich das Spiel mit einem Controller steuert.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ich hasse Montage. Ja,
No matter
geht
how
so.
hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Und A ist der Aktionsknopf. Okay. Wie gesagt, die originale Stanley Parable kenne ich bis hierhin, kein Unterschied. Jedenfalls kein Unterschied, den ich erkennen kann. Und Controllersteuerung ist in Ordnung, würde ich mal sagen.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ja, welche Tür sollte man sonst nehmen, außer die linke, ne? Wenn es der Ansager doch schon sagt. Hier kann ich nicht rein, schade. Alles mal ausprobieren, weil Es muss ja nicht unbedingt so sein, dass in Ultra Deluxe alles so ist wie im Original. Sehr schöne Aussicht übrigens hier aus dem Fenster, muss ich schon sagen. Würde ich auch in meinem Büro gerne genießen.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Schade, dass das Ganze nicht übersetzt wurde, aber sollte ja verständlich sein. Ja, hier ist alles in Ordnung, keine Sorge. Hier ist überhaupt nichts komisch. Ja, die Kamera.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Okay, wir machen einfach mal, was er sagt. Für den ersten Durchlauf.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Denn wir müssen ja erstmal die Geschichte hier kennenlernen, ne? Oh, ein Badezimmer. Money in the morning, morning in the evening. Money for breakfast, money crispy oder sowas. Okay, schönes Gedicht. Könnte von Shakespeare stammen.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Oh mein Gott, woher weiß ich das?
By simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Wie kommt man nur drauf? Wie ist unser Stanley darauf gekommen? Und dann wollen wir mal ein bisschen Ladesequenzen genießen. Ja, bislang sehe ich keinen Unterschied zum Original, aber die Hauptroute wird vielleicht auch gar nicht verändert sein.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ist natürlich sehr sicher, wenn hier alles offen rumliegt und Funken fliegen.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Ich würde sagen, es ist fast genauso sicher wie das Rechenzentrum der Finanzen bei uns. Auf Arbeit. Guter Gag.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Auf gar keinen Fall.
Now the monitors jumped to life.
Gefeuert.
Their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Das mit dem Feiert ist mir schon immer aufgefallen, aber was ist das da oben im Blau gewesen? Kann ich das nochmal sehen? Ich habe herausgefunden, dass man sneaken kann. Ich habe keine Ahnung, was das sein soll. Man kann noch leider nicht zoomen. Ich finde jedenfalls keine Taste, um zoomen zu können.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Das ist, glaube ich, einfach nur ein Error.
Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Mind Controls, Idle, Waiting Input. Schalten wir die Maschine ein oder nicht? Wir machen erstmal alles, was er sagt.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door.
Das Ziel.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Yay, wir haben das Spiel gewonnen. Ja, das war die Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Schlage das Spiel. Und damit sind wir durch. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Das war ein Witz. Aber das passiert, wenn man einfach nur dem Sprecher folgt. Ich habe keine Unterschiede zum Original gefunden.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Aber darum geht es in diesem Spiel ja auch nicht. Sondern darum, einfach mal nicht zu machen, was der Ansager sagt. Ja, dann wollen wir mal.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Nö.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Schön, wie alles Zahlen sind, da drüben steht ein 4B9. Alles klar. Haben wir irgendwas drin? Glaube ich nicht.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Drinking, ja, es wäre jetzt schön. Ich würde gerne Wasser haben. Dankeschön.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nee.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Do not jump from the cargo lift. While it's in motion. Will cause that. Okay. $5.000 kostet es, wenn man runterspringt. Oh oh.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've... But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death.
Das ist
Good
schade.
job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Das ist wirklich sehr schade. Das ist nämlich mehr als der Kreditrahmen meiner Kreditkarte. Kann ich mir daher nicht leisten, $5.000. Muss ich leider Privatinsolvenz anmelden. Ganz doof gelaufen. Nevermind, wir leben noch.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
La 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 la. Und wir gehen wieder nach
Stanley
rechts.
came to a set of 2 open. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Gibt's hier eigentlich irgendwelche Easter Eggs? Ich sehe gerade keins.
Wow. Yes. This room. What a beautiful room. What a gorgeous, gorgeous room. Thank goodness Stanley had taken this detour on his way to the meeting room. Life without having experienced this room was now too horrible even to consider.
Ja. Steht da unten. Who farted? Ich grad nicht.
Yes. Really, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished, here you sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. Really worth it.
Danke.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nein, werde ich immer noch nicht.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Und diesmal springen wir mal nicht drunter, würde ich sagen, ne?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about.
Springen wir jetzt runter?
Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself. To put your work aside. To let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Oh oh.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this. To reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Sieht fast so aus wie das Telefon, was wir unten haben. Ich habe irgendwie keine Lust da dran zu gehen. Und das sind hässliche britische Powerplugs.
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait. Oh, goodness. Stanley,
Sorry.
did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits.
Natürlich passiert
Not
das.
picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation?
Nee.
Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Vielen Dank.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Rupert has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could spend
Lecker.
years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic.
Und
If
hallo,
you find
Twister.
yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, Then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack and crack."
Hallo, ich werde eine Ganzkörperenthaarung haben. War das realistisch genug, Twister? Ja?
Excellent.
Okay.
Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been.
Alles klar.
Please.
Also ich habe so ungefähr, ich weiß nicht, 250 Entscheidungen am Tag oder so, um zu einem Amt zu treffen. Da bin ich ja sehr gesund bei. Ich kann nicht runterspringen. Scheiße.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying. Imagine the main character dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all. We just need to get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
Und hier kann ich auch nirgendwo runter. Doch. Ich wollte schon sagen, also wenn man da nicht durchgekommen wäre, das wäre seltsam gewesen. Ist ein Bug? Warum ist das ein Bug? Ist das dein Ernst? Warum ist dann B auf? Sicher, Twister? Also, dass in so einem Spiel nichts durchdacht ist? Habe ich es wirklich verkackt? Ich spiele dieses Spiel jetzt seit 20 Minuten. Habe ich es ernsthaft geschafft, dieses Spiel zu durchbrechen? Ach, leck mich doch am Arsch. Dann machen wir halt was anderes. Ah! War es im Original auch schon so?
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Wenn es im Original auch schon so war, dann sollte es doch bekannt sein, oder nicht?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Nö, machen wir immer noch nicht. Aber wir machen jetzt mal ein anderes Ende. Hoffentlich.
Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Dann laufen wir halt zum 3. Mal durch den Meeting Room, um ihn anzuschauen.
A work of art. What was it about this room that called so deeply and so personally to Stanley? Its grace, its subtle charm. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Wir gehen jetzt weiter geradeaus, aber springen jetzt auf den Steg.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Und nur für dich nochmal als Info, Twister. Das Original kenne ich in Teilen. Alter Deluxe, überhaupt nix. Haha.
I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful.
Deluxe, okay.
Let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance.
Was haben die immer mit dem B hier? Bottom? Keine Ahnung.
Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Nee.
Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door.
Kann ich auch nicht durch, schade.
I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine.
Nee.
Go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me, you give me...
Weniger Bugs wäre gut gewesen, Sprecher.
Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin.
Wie wär's, wenn wir jetzt einfach nicht da durchgehen?
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here.
Mal überlegen. 3 Optionen sind besser als 2. Geht so.
Oh, of course. A 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look.
Hast du einen Sound jetzt hingemacht an der Stelle, wo wir runtergeknallt sind? Mit Stanley-Ple Worldwide Leaderboard. Sehr schön. Sowas brauchst. Das sind die Speedrun-Leaderboards bestimmt. Würde mich nicht wundern, wenn dieses Spiel Speedrunner hat. Muss ich mal nachgucken. Bestimmt. Halt die Klappe. Hallo. You're objectively ranked letzter. Danke.
Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Naja, ein bisschen besser als 3 Türen, aber sonst.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up.
Ich glaube, das kenne ich, oder?
In
Ja.
this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
Alles klar. Also die nächsten 4 Stunden dieses Let's Plays werden sehr interessant werden, weil ich möchte auf jeden Fall dieses Ende sehen. Und ich weiß auf gar keinen Fall, dass nach 2 Stunden irgendein Hund dazukommt im Hintergrund. Und diese Audio ist auch sehr anspannend, muss ich sagen. Das ziehen wir jetzt hier ernsthaft 2 Stunden durch. Also, ich wünsche jedem viel Spaß. Nee, eigentlich nicht. Tschüss.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience.
Nee, ich mag Babys halt echt einfach nicht, die sind nervig.
I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game? Just to ease the pain. Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Spiele von anderen sind eh immer besser als sowas, ne? Muss ich schon sagen. Oh!
Aha, fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our backstory? What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there.
Das war der Minecraft-Türen-Sound und ich habe gerade auch ernsthaft damit gerechnet, dass jetzt Minecraft kommt, weil ich dachte, im Original war es Minecraft, was hier kommt. Okay, haben wir den ersten Unterschied zu Ultra Deluxe gefunden. Das Spiel sagt mir gerade nichts tatsächlich. Also wirklich nicht. Ah, natürlich laufe ich falsch rum. Was auch sonst. Was könnte das denn sein? Ich kenn's tatsächlich gerade nicht.
Oh no. No, it can't be.
Klär mich auf. Ich komme gerade nicht drauf.
It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly block it off. Oh, thank goodness, Stanley. What a close call. You nearly wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any.
Da ist ein Loch.
Thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game.
Ah, schade.
Play something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls.
Fällt dir gerade auch nicht ein. Ja, dann ist es ja sehr bekannt.
Okay.
Mir sagt dieser Grafikstil gerade nichts.
Will be just the thing.
Okay, und jetzt kommt bestimmt auch kein Portal, ne? Das kenne ich.
This is exactly what I had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost here. Now this is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game, I will be phenomenally impressed.
Wie heißt dieses Spiel nur? Ich komme gerade nicht drauf. Ach so, Nintendo Switch Sports, genau.
Do we do here? Let's see.
Stimmt.
There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley,
Sportball,
I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall
Nintendo
run the
Switch
bases and do
Sportball.
a touchdown together? Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun.
Fußball-Simulator 2015, okay. Hallo Ball. Kann ich rennen? Ich bin schneller als gerade. Also es fühlt sich sogar flüssiger an als Nintendo Switch Sports. Muss ich schon sagen. Oh.
Hold on. What are you doing?
Huh.
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that. Stanley, come back.
Das war eindeutig der Fußball-Simulator 2015, ja. Sieht sehr schön hier aus. Also ich muss sagen, hat schon fast was vom Amt. Kappa. Oh, die Türen links und rechts. Und die PCs funktionieren. Und hier ist unser Raum. 427. Was soll das sein? Mischpult, so eine Art? Nee. Das ist eine PC-Tastatur. Keine Ahnung, es ist etwas.
I wonder what he found. If what he wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice. And if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait.
Das Spiel war gerade einfach so leise. Ich glaube, das war ein Ende, oder? Jetzt noch weiter. Nein, das war ein Ende. Okay, das war überraschend anders, als ich es aus dem Original von Gameplay-Sequenzen
I can't wait to tell this story to my co-workers, Stanley thought. How
kenne.
amusing they'll find it. Oh, won't we all just laugh and laugh at the time I thought everyone had gone missing. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Okay, jetzt bin ich gespannt, was bei anderen Enden, die ich eigentlich schon halbwegs kenne, ist, weil es scheint ja wirklich viel verändert zu sein.
Came to a set of 2 open doors. He entered the door on his left.
Dann folgen wir ihm wieder mal ein Momentchen.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office.
Hallo.
Oh no, no, not again. I won't be part of this. I'm not going to encourage you. I'm not going to say anything at all. I'm just going to be patient and wait for you to finish whatever it is you enjoy doing so much in this room. Please take your time.
Okay, tschüss. Nein. Kleiner Scherz. Ich weiß, dass hier irgendwie ein Ende ist, wenn man hier eine Zeit lang wartet. Mal gucken, ob sie es verändert haben. Oder? Hallo? Hintergrundstimme? Bist du noch da? Hallo? Nein? Dann halt nicht.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Dann gehen wir weiter. Gibt's jetzt auf dem Klo irgendwas? Nein. Immer noch nur ein schlechtes Gedicht, das anders ist. Extreme Badezimmer. Und die Time. So heißt die Zeit also in Großbritannien oder wo auch immer es spielt. Natürlich funktioniert der Spiegel nicht. Hier geht's weiter, was? Okay. Der Fahrstuhl funktioniert aber nicht. Vielleicht irgendein anderer Zyklus dann.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. He began wildly tearing through papers on the boss's desk, pulling books off the shelf. looking behind paintings, desperate for clues to his situation. But his attention was caught by a keypad behind the boss's desk. What could its purpose be? In fact, this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra... Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk.
Nee, Entschuldigung.
That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming New Age music.
Ernsthaft.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
Man kann echt nicht in diesem Spiel machen, ohne kommentiert zu werden, oder? Ist das schlimm. Das kannte ich auch noch nicht. Dann gehen wir wieder hier durchs Rechenzentrum der Finanzen Nordrhein-Westfalen in Düsseldorf. Na komm, gehen wir nochmal geradeaus. Ich will mal eine Sache testen.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Ja.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
427 wäre dann ja da. Yep, das ist Stanleys Büro. Das ist korrekt.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Ich werde jetzt hier keinen sehr politischen Witz machen.
The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all. Oh, Stanley, you didn't just activate the controls, did you? After they kept you enslaved all these years, you go and you try to take control of the machine for yourself? Is that what you wanted? Control? Oh, Stanley, I applaud your effort, I really do. But you need to understand, there's only so much that machine can do. You were supposed to let it go. Turn the controls off and leave. If you want to throw my story off track, you're going to have to do much better than that. I'm afraid you don't have nearly the power you think you do. For example, and I believe you'll find this pertinent, Stanley suddenly realized he had just initiated the network's emergency detonation system. In the event that this machine is activated without proper DNA identification, nuclear detonators are set to explode, eliminating the entire complex. How long until detonation then? Let's say 2 minutes. Ah, now this is making things a little more fun, isn't it,
Okay.
Stanley? It's your time to shine. You are the star. It's your story now. Shape it to your heart's desire.
Jetzt bin ich
Oh,
gespannt.
this is much better than what I had in mind. What a shame we have so little time left to enjoy it. Mere moments until the bomb goes off. But what precious moments each one of them is. More time to talk about you, about me, where we're going, what all this means. I barely know where to start.
Im Original war es ja so, dass man jetzt
You'd
hier
like to know
nichts
where
mehr
your
machen konnte.
coworkers are? A moment of solace before you're obliterated. All right, I'm in a good mood. You're gonna die anyway. I'll tell you exactly what happened to them. I erased them. I turned off the machine. I set you free. Of course, that was merely in this instance of the story. Sometimes when I tell it, I simply let you sit there in your office forever, pushing buttons endlessly and then dying alone. Other times, I let the office sink into the ground, swallowing everyone inside, or I let it burn to a crisp. I have to say this, though, this version of events has been rather amusing. Watching you try to make sense of everything and take back the control wrested away from you, it's quite rich. I almost hate to see it go. But I'm sure whatever I come up with on the next go-around will be even better. My goodness,
Man kann
only
nicht mal
34
drücken.
seconds left. But I'm enjoying this so much. You know what? To hell with it. I'm going to put some extra time on the clock. Why not?
Dankeschön.
These are precious additional seconds, Stanley. Time doesn't grow on trees. Oh dear me, what's the matter, Stanley? Is it that you have no idea where you're going or what you're supposed to be doing right now?
Nein, weil ich nicht glaube, dass es hier ein Ende gibt, oder?
That something in this room was capable of turning it off. I mean, look at you. Running from button to button, screen to screen, clicking on every little thing in this room. These numbered buttons, no, these colored ones. Or maybe this big red button, or this door. Everything, anything, something here will save me. Why would you think that, Stanley? That this video game can be beaten? Won? Solved? Do you have any idea what your purpose in this place is? Stanley, you're in for quite a disappointment. But here's a spoiler for you. That timer isn't a catalyst to keep the action moving along. It's just seconds ticking away to your death.
Nee, sag
You're
bloß.
only still playing instead of watching a cutscene because I want to watch you for every moment that you're powerless. To see you made humble. This is not a challenge, it's a tragedy. You wanted to control this world, that's fine. But I'm going to destroy it first, so you can't. Take a look at the clock, Stanley. That's 30 seconds you have left to struggle. 30 seconds until a big boom and then nothing. No ending here, just you being blown to pieces.
Naja, was auch ein Ende
Will you
ist.
cling desperately to your frail life, or will you let it go peacefully? Another choice. Make it count, or don't. It's all the same to me, all a part of the joke. And believe me, I will be laughing at every second of your inevitable life from the moment we fade in until the moment I say, happily ever after.
Ja, ich bezweifle, dass man in Ultra Deluxe da tatsächlich auch rauskommen kann. War im Original schon so, dass es da ein absolutes Dead End ist. Na gut. Dann halt nicht.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Das ist gut möglich, ja.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
Gehen wir doch nochmal zur Employee Lounge.
and Stanley knew it perfectly.
Kann man hier irgendwann mal eine Tür aufmachen?
Perhaps he wanted to
Glaub ich
stop
nicht, ne?
by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Irgendwann läuft man da hinten, glaube ich, auch lang.
Standing now in this incredible room, Stanley for the first time understood true happiness.
Und deswegen gehen wir jetzt.
Then, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ja? Nein.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Gehen wir doch nochmal weiter. Und diesmal werden wir nicht nach da unten
Look,
gehen.
Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Ich glaube, wenn Twister nicht hier gewesen wäre, wäre ich da unten, was weiß ich, 5
I
Minuten lang
realize that
rumgelatscht.
investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, But the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please.
Gehen wir nochmal. Hier.
Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door.
Dann wollen wir doch mal durch die rote Tür gehen.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here.
Schöner Raum übrigens, ne? Macht sehr viel Sinn.
Right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I wanted to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you.
OBS habe ich auf volle Pulle minus 1,5 Dezibel, also eigentlich sollte es halbwegs laut sein. Ich weiß nicht, was da los ist. Ich kann mal das Ingame-Gedöns lauter machen.
Do we want? What are we looking for?
Ist so besser? Zumindest Ingame-Lautstärke. Ich mache meins auch mal auf minus 0,5.
Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel happy.
Och komm, wie soll ich es denn sonst laut stellen? Ich habe das jetzt schon auf doppelte Lautstärke in-game wie sonst passt das doch auch immer gut. Besser so? Ich habe es jetzt nochmal deutlich lauter gemacht. Dieser Raum ist übrigens wirklich schön.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Nirgendwo. Wir gehen einfach zurück.
Right. Where were we?
Kann man hier runterspringen? Nein. Okay. Hab Windows und Kopfhörer auf Maximum und ist gerade so richtig laut. Moment, ich muss mir das gerade selbst anhören. Passt das jetzt dann?
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Ach so, meinst du?
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me.
Nee, keine Sorge.
Please,
Suizid
Stanley,
ist keine
think
Lösung.
about what you're doing. No! Oh, thank God. You lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back to the other room? No. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Weil's lustig ist? Tschüss.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You are literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Was passiert eigentlich, wenn man wirklich
Perhaps you
zurückgeht?
can. Perhaps you finally see what I'm talking about. I know you'll see that we can't be happy if we leave this place. You can see that, can't you?
Ist ja wirklich schön, muss man ja sagen. Aber das ist leider kein Ende. Und man ist sehr langsam inzwischen mit, ich würde sagen, 17
No,
gebrochenen Knochen Minimum.
Perhaps not.
Aber richtig Minimum. Wir können uns auch einfach aufhängen. Ja, das wäre auch eine Möglichkeit. Aber erlaubt das Spiel nicht. Tschüss.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours.
Das Ende ist doof, ja. Tja, Suizid ist halt keine Lösung. Außer um ein Ende zu finden.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
F. Und schwupps kommen wir aus dem Krankenhaus mit allen Knochen wieder repariert. Perfekt.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Bin ich doof? Moment. Haben sie es jetzt hier gespiegelt? Nee, ich bin, glaube ich, nicht doof, oder? Jetzt haben sie doch gespiegelt. Ja, bis gleich.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Okay. Oh Gott, man weiß bei dem Spiel echt nicht, was als nächstes passiert. Ich bin doof. Die Nachricht wurde erstmal zurückgehalten. Echt? Ich bin doof?
Yet there was not a single
Möglich.
person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Was soll das Spiel? Ich wollte eigentlich in die Abstellkammer.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Was ist diesmal das Gedicht? Das hatten wir schon. Langweilig.
Okay, I think we all know the drill by now. Blah, blah, blah. Dark secrets, the keypad. Stanley pushes some buttons. Oh, hey, look, it's a new passageway. Kill surprise.
Passiert eigentlich was, wenn ich den Code nochmal eingebe? Ich habe leider den falschen jetzt eingegeben. 2. 8. Es sollte eine 4 sein. Nein. So? Ja. Passiert aber nicht mehr. Schade. 69. Wird nächste Mal probiert. Würde mich nicht wundern, wenn das Spiel dafür was einprogrammiert. Würde es mich wirklich nicht. Hallo und willkommen zurück im Rechenzentrum der Finanzen. Was kann ich für Sie tun?
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Aber was will ich da? Ich glaube, da haben wir schon alle Enden, oder? Ich glaube schon.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, The truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Oh nein.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Nein. Lässt sich eigentlich die Umschaugeschwindigkeit einstellen? Empfindlichkeit der Kamera, ja. Invertieren, wir machen sowas. Okay. Ich überlege es noch, ob ich das
At this
umstelle,
point,
weil es
Stanley
relativ
was
langsam.
making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Oh oh, ich glaube, wir werden sterben. Tschüss. Also mal wieder sterben. Kennen wir ja inzwischen.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Schön, wie es im Hintergrund immer noch vibriert. Ich könnte auch zurücksetzen. Da halt nicht.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Klassiker. Ah. The
And
Stanley
yet it would be
Parable.
just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
Ohne Ultra Deluxe. Willkommen im Museum.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ich bin doch nicht doof, Twister. Hier geht's nach rechts. Und nicht nach links. Aber schön, wie die Schilder hier übersetzt wurden. 2013er Team. Der Erzähler ist natürlich super. Ja, es gibt... frag mich nicht. Sehr schönes Chefsbüro. Bislang haben wir ja noch nicht so viel von Ultra Deluxe mitbekommen, außer neue Spiele bei dem Spiele-Ending. Ist das hier auch ausgebaut, das Museum? Kann gut sein, oder? Kommt da unten? Okay. Stanley Parable. An, aus. Gehen wir gleich noch hin. Ist natürlich ganz schön designt hier. Stanleys Büro. Von links nach rechts. November 2011, März 2012, Februar 2013. Sehr schön. Da wurde sich aber richtig Mühe gegeben.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Turn off your Nintendo Switch. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path.
Nintendo Switch?
Stop now and it'll be your only true choice.
Was passiert, wenn ich wirklich die Switch einfach ausmache jetzt? Weil wir können ja jetzt halt ins Spiel wieder rein. Lustig, dass sie genau die Versionen nennen, die ich spiele.
Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Das lief nicht so wie geplant. F. Wirklich F.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
War eine Option, dass da irgendwas Neues ist. Man weiß ja nie. Mal kurz die Konsole ausschalten, warum nicht, ne? Funktioniert ja. Komm ich da hoch? Nein. Neuer Content? Geht's dazu? Ultra Deluxe? Huh. Ich habe am Anfang Nein gewählt, weil ich es noch nicht selbst gespielt habe.
Oh, new content? What does that mean, new content?
Na, da komme ich nicht durch. Also ich habe Nein gewählt, weil ich es noch nie selber gespielt habe und es nur mal so ein bisschen angeschaut habe. Also war es gerade sozusagen noch die Grundversion, die wir gespielt haben, mit Ausnahme der Games. Und jetzt geht's erst mit Ultra Deluxe los. Ultra Deluxe, Entschuldigung.
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers.
Schön das Jahr falsch in den Untertitel gepackt.
The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content.
Okay, ich auch, weil das kenne ich noch auf gar keinen Fall.
Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if, Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Gimme the content, Stanley.
Oh, ich liebe, wie dieses Spiel so einen Schwachsinn aufbaut.
All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Was? Was? Oh Gott. Springen! Oh Gott. Das heißt, wir können sogar an bestimmten Stellen jetzt einfach springen. Ach, leck mich doch am Arsch. Hat ja schon fast Spaß gemacht.
Is that it? Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. Another elevator. Stanley, I have to say, initial impressions of this game are not positive. It's just elevators and jumping. Is this what passes for exciting new content? If this is new content, then I could just read you the whole dictionary. There's 20 hours of new content right there. Hell, I could count to 30 trillion. You could put that on the box. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, now with over 1,000 hours of new content. And if... Oh, wait. There's more. Very good. Yes. I knew there had to be something else. Let's see it. I'm ready for whatever it is. That's it? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You see, Stanley? This is what happens when greedy video game developers with no respect for their fan base rush a cheap expansion to market for no reason other than to make an easy dollar. And don't get me started on the level of craftsmanship that's gone into it. In fact, I'm looking right now at the game's achievements, and it's hard to believe one of them actually says, "Test achievement, please ignore." What quality assurance department signed off on this? It's my fault, Stanley. I built up too much anticipation around the new content, I'm afraid. It could never have lived up to such expectations. If you're still with me, why don't we just reset the game, and we'll try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about. No frills, no gimmicks. Just you and me having a great time together like always. What do you say, friend?
Das Schlimmste ist, ich würde es den Entwicklern sogar schon fast zutrauen. Aber wenn wir jetzt wirklich springen können, heißt das wirklich, dass so einiges dazu kommen kann an Gebieten. Können wir springen? Oh. 4 und 27 ist immer das gleiche. Hallo, altes Büro.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Da haben wir noch den Coffee Nut, die Coffee Nut Tasse. Also das ist jetzt wirklich neu. Okay.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be? Well, it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Können wir bitte aufhören, die 6. Wand durchbrechen? Boah. Was ist das denn jetzt?
The Memory Zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC.
Also wir gehen jetzt gerade sehr stark auf die
You see,
Meta-Ebene.
Stanley, doesn't the Memory Zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap Nintendo Switch port? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Genau, die britische Filmakademie. The Original Remake, was? Just your average browser. Okay, ich sehe jetzt gerade nichts, was man irgendwie in echt eingeben könnte. Würde ich dem Spiel fast zutrauen, irgendwie für so eine versteckte Webseite oder sowas. $1. Ja, schön, danke. Es wird noch gut, ja, das erwarte ich auch. Don't play for 5 years, also 2018 haben es die ersten Leute erreicht, ne? Versteckte Webseite? Ich sehe keine URL, die man eingeben könnte. Könnt ihr bitte aufhören, euch zu feiern? Creator surprisingly down to earth, okay. Oh, kommt nicht durch.
Je suis dans la mémorise, c'est la pluie de l'eau.
And over here is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was Persona 3, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Ja. Okay, Maintenance von mir aus. Ich nehme jetzt einfach mal Zeit, das hier alles anzugucken. Hey, die Stanley Parable Storyline, oder wie auch immer die hieß. Und Minecraft. Damit habe ich vorhin eigentlich gerechnet. Und Portal. Hallo. Die Collector's Edition können wir sich auch mal holen. Kappa.
Here's another moving passage. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. All they had to do was transport it in pristine condition along to the Nintendo Switch. Boom, done. And they couldn't even do that. Couldn't resist the urge to go meddling with a beloved franchise.
Die Tasse brauche ich. Ich gehe gerne arbeiten. Ich hasse einfach nur meinen Boss. Nein. Alles gut. Alles gut.
These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no, oh God, no, Stanley. It's a collection of reviews from Pressurized Gas, the extremely popular online storefront for computer games. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they?
Toxisch wahrscheinlich. Oh nein.
I could not be
Oh
bothered to play
nein.
this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Also da ist noch eine positive Bewertung auf Steam. Echte Reviews, ja, davon gehe ich aus. Ah, ist das schön, so auf der Metaebene getrieben zu werden. Hey, noch eine positive Bewertung. Ich weiß nicht, ob es nur Switch ist, deswegen man nicht lesen kann, aber...
While
Okay.
the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did. But maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered.
Hallo Nudelschaf. Klingt mir sehr deutsch. Oh oh.
What's this one got to say?
Cookie non.
You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
Was? Ist da was hinter? Jein.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue.
Den wollen wir
And
doch hören.
here's something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say... the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just
Ist ein
yet.
endless loop. Ich würde schon fast sagen, ja.
245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and...
Okay, reicht.
Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think.
Jetzt könnte ich auch noch
So
überspringen.
my theory is that any choice you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your great gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be
Kann jeder
both
folgen,
of these
ja?
things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting...
Klappe.
Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button.
Nein, die kann ich
The
nochmal.
minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your face. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but it's, well, there's really only so much I
Viertel
can
nach
ramble
zwei.
on to myself about. I know. Stanley, please don't
Halbe
push the
Stunde.
button again. It's been 12 hours.
Okay, oder mehr.
You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. I have no idea how long I'll be made to sit here, and more than anything else, I don't know how to stop you from pressing the button again. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again.
Nee, eigentlich
Stanley,
nicht.
I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's
Weil
just
Stanley auch so viel
how
redet, ne?
it's always been, right? Me talking. Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time.
Du hast doch
I
jetzt
stopped
noch mehr
keeping
Zeit.
track after.
Tot? Oh oh, ich muss aufstehen. Ah nee, ist der Eierkocher. Tschüss.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all of our attention, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about any of this. I'm at peace with it. I am the calm center of gravity around which these perversions hurl themselves. I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse. They're the ones who are mad. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Yes. Yes, of course. They've been jealous of me this whole time. They are mired in fear and insecurity and cannot help but attempt to tear me down. What a sad state of affairs. When you read these reviews now, you can see it. You can taste the bitter resentment. And my, how good does it feel now to speak truth to these words, to finally allow these thoughts out, contained and managed for so long, neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think, to feel. It must be that they were so discontent with themselves that they couldn't help but leave a negative review on pressurized gas. Perhaps it says far more about them than it ever said about me. Perhaps the state of their psychological being was in such tatters, and my constitution and willpower are so ironclad in comparison. Perhaps it was this state that they sought some outlet through which to tear me down. This, you can see, is clearly why they felt the need to expect that the game be funny, that it be filled with yucks and whimsical humor, that it amused. But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he went, shut up.
Shut up, genau. Loop.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the.
Wasserschaden, sehr schön. Portal 2 Moment. Ich glaube, wir kommen voran. Das Ende ist niemals das Ende, ist niemals das Ende, ist niemals das Ende. Ja. Ja, so wird's nach der Menschheit kommen. Die Natur holt sich alles zurück. Gebt mal Zeit. Hallo Vögel. Never mind. Wird immer mehr zu Portal 2 oder so. Ich glaube, der Raum steht schief. wir sind in irgendeiner Wüste. Bewege ich mich fort? Oder ist das ein Endless Loop? Oder Mario 64? Ich glaube, ich gehe wirklich. Was ein absolut beknacktes Spiel. Genau deswegen spiele ich's. Desert Simulator. Jo. Ah ja, willkommen zu The Stanley Parable. Mit einer sehr hellen Lampe.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Und jetzt geht's auch
What
wieder
could
nach
it
rechts.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Wollen wir zurückgehen? Nein, schade. Desert Bus, Lul. Eindeutig. Das war ein sehr interessantes Ende. New Content. Ich glaube, diesen neuen Content schauen wir uns direkt mal an.
Oh, good.
Der neue Content, das war's.
Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Wirklich gut. Muss ich sagen. Dann schauen wir uns mal nicht den neuen, sondern den neuen Content an. Interessant. Na, was hast du denn an neuen Sachen für mich? 2 Stunden Aufzug?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Och nee.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly port with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Zwei.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Hier sehen wir übrigens kurz den Unterschied. Das ist ein deutsches Amt. Das ist ein modernes Steuerbüro oder so. New Content. Old and busted, new hotness. Cool red section of the chart. Dankeschön. Wir sind zurück. 2 Türen. Was haben wir hier für eine Tasse? Don't talk to me before I've had my sequel. Oh, und neue Tassen. Neue Tasten, da freut sich aber einer.
Now, to
Schön
be
modernes
clear,
Gebäude.
I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
The way to the show floor, ja. Dann zeig mal her den Trailer für Stanley Parable 2. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . Wer hat den Rundstift genommen? Ich. Ah.
Here we are. Go on, try out some of the new features.
Merch! Gib her. Irgendwas, was ich haben will? The end is never the end, würde ich nehmen. Reinsurance Bucket? Please no Screenshots. Unendliches Loch. Wir gehen mal zum Beruhigungseimer. Was ist denn der Beruhigungseimer?
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I'm happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind.
Es gibt kein richtig und kein falsch, Schwester.
As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting.
Fehlt den
may
QR-Code,
even
ich glaube,
come to
dafür bin ich
long
falsch.
for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes, the bucket is the perfect solution. Come on, give it a try.
Der Eimer.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body.
Wow.
And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits
Wow.
of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Wow. Viel Spaß damit für die nächsten 5 Stunden, ja? Sehr spaßig. Gutes Feature, der Eimer. Dann
Does
finden wir mal
anyone
den
give out
QR-Code.
awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
Wo muss ich nach dem QR-Code suchen? Im Main? Ein QR-Code, okay. Ich habe zwar nichts, um den QR-Code abzuscannen, aber egal. Ich habe ja kein Smartphone. Woher kann ein iPad QR-Codes abscannen? Dann könnte ich mein Dienst-iPad dafür nehmen. Keine Ahnung. Sehr schöne 2 übrigens, könnte fast von Netto sein. Hier in dem Raum ist ein QR-Code versteckt. Free Achievement, sehr schön. Wo denn ungefähr? Vielleicht rausgenommen? Kann sein, dass es auf der Switch keinen gibt vielleicht.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Kann ich direkt einen Eimer hier packen. Das Ding. Really?
God, it
Komm
really
schon.
is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
Im Sprungkreis waren wir schon. Aber vorher. Holen wir uns doch mal das neue Achievement. Get Achievement right now. Hebel ziehen. Und das war's.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement. Yes, you see, you'll come to this lever and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's a Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist. Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Ja, Spiel. Alles klar. Klassiker. Hier ist wieder nix. Aber sehr schönes
What
Feature.
else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Ich würde mal sagen, wir gehen mal zum Endlosloch. Oh, was haben wir da? Na, wir gehen erstmal hier lang. Mhm. Korrekte Beschreibung eines Lochs, danke. Ja.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time, if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Mach das jetzt alles, bevor du liefst. Jo, ich guck mal. Den Ausgang habe ich ja schon gesehen, aber ich springe mal hier rein.
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top and we can continue onward.
Passiert irgendwas, wenn ich jetzt hier warte? Wahrscheinlich nicht, ist unendlich, ne?
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things. Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole. Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you,
Vorwiegend
then go
unendlich.
ahead and press
Aha.
the teleport button to warp up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here when you're ready.
Okay.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Dann schauen wir uns noch mehr an. Der Eimer ist wirklich großartig, muss ich schon sagen. Da kommen wir nicht lang. Schade. Schade, schade, schade. Auch schön die große Stanley-Figur. Was hat man hier?
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with? You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Leck mich am Arsch. Du kleiner Troll. Immer schon das Gegenteil machen. Ja.
Or actually, maybe I should have gone with... No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Was haben wir hier? Der Knopf, der den Namen des Spielers sagt, der ihn spielt.
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Jim.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature. Just play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust.
Jim.
Whoa, hold on. I wasn't finished setting up the backstory. If you don't properly roleplay as Jim, then you'll never understand the impact of this button. Otherwise, it's just a stupid button that says somebody else's name. Okay, we're doing it again, and this time let me finish first.
Nein.
Now, allow yourself to become Jim.
Jim.
All right, fine, whatever. It's just a meaningless button that says Jim. Are you happy now? Get out
Ja,
of here.
danke.
I'm done with this button. Why don't you go humiliate me in front of a different feature that I worked very hard on?
Kann man die auch drücken? Nee. Schade. Okay, was fehlt uns noch? Wir waren beim Loch.
Maybe I'll only let people named Jim play the Stanley Parable 2. They would appreciate what I've created.
Epilog.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
Da waren wir. The button that says the name Jim. Waren wir auch. Waren wir da drüben schon bei That's New? Einstellungen Weltmeister. Da waren wir noch nicht. Waren wir da auch nicht reinkommt. Okay. Dann gehen wir nicht zum Einstellungen Weltmeister. Ich glaube, da waren wir schon, ne? Ja, da müssten wir gewesen sein. Sammelobjekte, ja. Größtenteils ein ähnliches Loch. Wurde auch geupdatet, perfekt. Ja, hier waren wir schon. Das war mit der Sammelfigur. Okay, ich glaube, ne, Sprungkreis können wir nochmal machen. Dann haben wir aber alles. Merch, ja. Ja. Nur noch der Sprungkreis, dann haben wir es. Wo auch immer der ist, aber den haben wir ja schon eigentlich gesehen. Ah, hier ist er.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2 as well. It's... Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle? Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece then.
Ernsthaft? Gut, dann spielen wir halt nicht weiter in dem Sprungkreis, sondern verlassen jetzt diesen komischen Bereich. Mit einem sehr netten Eimer.
All right.
Schöner
Have
Eimer.
you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
Noch eine neue Tasse.
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience. Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
Wow.
I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Here we go. Version 2.
Videospiele in a nutshell.
Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features in it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Wir haben jetzt einfach so einen Titelscreen zurückgeworfen. Oh. Das ist ein sehr komischer Titelscreen. POC, die Stanley Parable 2, jawohl. Ich glaube, ich muss Einstellungen treffen. Steuern, bewegen, ducken, habe ich kapiert inzwischen. Interagieren A und umsehen. Okay, ich habe nichts verpasst. Das ist ein Endless Loop. Okay. 27% erst.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Ja, das kennen wir.
Stanley worked at a
Mit
company in
Ballons
a big
diesmal.
building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in.
Keine Unterschiede aus den Ballons gerade?
For this job. And Stanley was happy.
Okay.
And then one
Dann nicht, aber jetzt haben wir hier Balance.
all of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No
Happy
matter
12th
how
birthday,
hard Stanley
Stephanie.
looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Balance Cover. Der Eimer! Be My Valentine, nein. Sehr viele Ballons.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
Warum nehme ich den Eimer nicht? Keine Ahnung.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and
Nee,
Stanley
ich nehme es
knew it
gerade
perfectly
nicht,
well.
den Eimer.
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Tatsächlich habe ich ihn nicht genommen.
Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he
Hier ist
had
aber
never
nichts
known
verändert.
before.
Das ist doof.
Was it this route? But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Ist der Rest unverändert? Ja.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Kann ich eigentlich so zurückgehen, theoretisch? Nein! Der Eimer hat sich gut eingebracht. Das ist
Yet
doof.
there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to
Ich
go
meine,
up
ich kann jederzeit hier... Die Fortsetzung ist jetzt pausiert.
to his boss's office,
Kann ich nicht rein theoretisch das Spiel einfach neu beginnen?
hoping he might find an answer there.
Ja? Nein?
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Weißt du was? Ich versuch's jetzt einfach mal. Inwieweit wird jetzt resettet? Komplett oder bis zum letzten Start? Ah,
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Dann nehmen wir uns doch mal einen
Perhaps
Eimer
he had Stanley picked up the bucket.
schöner Eimer. Okay, wenn er auch nichts mehr kennt, ist perfekt.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Gott.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Ja.
Oh,
Kann ich ihn
Stanley,
abstellen?
can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy? It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons.
Wie
This
Eimer.
is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well, I never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together.
Mühe gemacht,
Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
Wir verprügeln jetzt die Kammer.
Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things.
Das ist jetzt meins. Perfekt.
All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see, I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket. There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Komm, noch ein Scheiß.
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Ich hätte gerne noch einen Aufkleber. Gibt's noch einen? Oder was ist jetzt wirklich? Na, ich warte noch 15 Sekunden. Aber ich glaube wirklich, das war's jetzt. 3, 2, 1. Okay, jetzt haben wir aber 2 schöne Aufkleber.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Ich muss wie immer nach dem Gedicht gucken.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley
Die gibt's
figurines.
jetzt wirklich?
Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done.
6969, nicht vergessen. Nein, nein, keine Sorge.
Happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Okay, also mal gucken, ob ich sie alle finden werde.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him always. The bucket would, and he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Dankeschön, Schwester, das hat absolut nichts gebracht.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Gibt bestimmt irgendeinen Geheimcode oder so.
Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it
Kann ich mir
the
jedenfalls
bucket
vorstellen.
all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Machen wir das richtige Ende jetzt, oder? Boah, mir kommen gerade so viele Ideen mit diesem Eimer. Es ist schrecklich.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Man könnte jetzt zum Beispiel durch die Presse gehen und hoffen, dass der Eimer ihn irgendwie rettet. Keine
Stanley and
Ahnung.
the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control
Aber wir gehen mal
Facility.
geradeaus. Ich denke mal, alle Enden, die man jetzt hier erreichen kann, werden einen speziellen Text haben mit dem Eimer.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Kann man mit dem Eimer die Atombombe
The monitors
deaktivieren?
jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced
Da kann man nicht
furiously in
durchschalten.
Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Dann ist out of bounds,
But
ja.
here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power
Vielleicht gehe ich
over
erstmal einen Eimer
another
umbauen.
human
Ja,
life.
eindeutig.
For he and the bucket
Nehme ich mir
would
ein bisschen ins Bett
dismantle
als
the
Kuscheleimer.
controls for good.
Wer braucht schon
Two
Stofftiere oder
best
so?
friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and... What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Bitte was? Der arme Eimer. Was Was zum Teufel? Okay. Das war also das Eimerende oder so. Interessant. Sehr interessant.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Und
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
eins der Eimerenden, ja. Ich werde jetzt leider... Meeting today, ja, ja. Ich werde jetzt leider so langsam für heute Schluss machen müssen. Nach 42 Stunden für Stanley Parable. Ich muss morgen nämlich zur Arbeit. Ja. Deswegen sage ich an dieser Stelle danke fürs Zuschauen. Es wird auf jeden Fall noch einen Stream geben, weil jetzt wird's interessant. Die erste Stunde war ja wirklich einfach nur fast die normale Stanley Parable. Danke fürs Zuschauen, Twister. Und fürs dabei sein, kommentieren. Hier hat man ein bisschen wen zum Unterhalten. Ja, vielleicht bis zum nächsten Mal. Bleibt das Hauptmenü jetzt eigentlich bei The Stanley Parable 2 oder zu Ultra Deluxe wieder? Ne, es bleibt wirklich The Stanley Parable 2. Okay. Gut. Dann Tschüssikowski.